Wally. The experience I'm about to recount to you is quite short, unfortunately, but I remember it quite vividly. You remember Wally, right? That cute little boy who served as your rival on Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald? Yeah, he's easily one of my favorites. He doesn't seem to have any emotional hang-ups. He's not arrogant, he doesn't constantly call you weak, he's not a hyperactive annoyance, and he's not trying to deceive you even for the smallest amount of time. He's just a sweet, innocent little boy who wants to become a good Pokemon trainer. He's the one I hated to beat, but at the same time, I loved it. The way he accepted his defeat in my character's hands, with the vow to try harder, made me feel like I was a motivator of some sort. I wasn't beating him mercilessly. I was helping him get better. It had been quite some time since I played my Ruby game. A few years at least. But I never once misplaced it. As I suddenly got the urge to play the game one day after watching the Jirachi Wishmaker movie, I found it neatly tucked away in my sock drawer, in the exact same corner which I had left it. It wasn't even dusty. The cloth protected it of a bunch of unused socks, and kept safe from any damage elements, which in turn answered the question as to why I placed it in my sock drawer in the first place. I located my DS. I misplaced my Game Boy SP quite a while ago. Not that it mattered. I quickly inserted the red cartridge, excited to see my old, completely unbalanced Pokemon team. I looked at my save file, and saw that I saved right in front of the Pokemon League, which was good considering I planned to challenge them straight away anyway. Rather, since I was there, I figured to pay my favorite little rival a friendly visit before doing anything. First Wally, then the League. Then I see if there was a chance if I had been lucky enough to find my game on the day I could find Mirage Island. As I stepped away from the League entrance, following the zigzag path downward, I stopped for a moment and opened my party. Normally when I leave a Pokemon game alone for a while, I find out the last thing I did was trade to help out my Pokedex on my other games. It certainly would have been the first time I entered a battle completely unaware that I had a full party of level 5 Rattata Magikarp. It's a bit of an embarrassing situation, to say the least. They were all there, though. Inferno level 100 Blaziken, Volcano level 85 Groudon, Daldoros the level 87 Rayquaza, Duragon the level 65 Salamence, Harbinger the level 55 Absol, and Vengeance the level 35 Bannet. As I said, painfully unbalanced, but they were all there as I left them. I was relieved, actually. That meant the Ruby wasn't the game I hadn't abused the PAL Park with. It must have been Emerald. But that's not really important, though. And I'm getting off track. My party was there, so I didn't have to waste a few minutes in going back up to the League to switch out my dinky little underlevel Pokemon for something a little better. So I began my little trek to see Wally once more. As I entered the cave, he was standing there waiting for me already. I couldn't remember if that was what he was supposed to do or not. As I said, it's been quite a long time since I've so much as thought about this game. But I was excited to talk to him either way, whether I felt guilty for beating him or not. I really loved seeing him. I approached him and pressed A to talk, but rather than have him say something in greeting before challenging me to a battle, the trainer spotted theme played for a second or two, then the screen flickered, signifying battle had started. But just as quickly as the screen faded to black, it faded back to the normal cave scene once more. Only Wally was no longer standing there. I shrugged it off, thinking that the years have actually had put a little wear on the game's inner workings. Not that I'm actually tech savvy enough to really know how that'd work. I started to walk away, thinking I'd try to see if this glitch continued in the Pokemon League. If it did, I was out of a game. I'd either have to reset or get a new one. Either option would kill me. Inferno was the best Pokemon I've ever had, though before I could take a single step past turning around, the Pokénev rang. I didn't think it could function properly in caves and the like, but since I was kind of close to the exit and open air, I suppose it made sense for it to work. Come to Petalburg. I'm not entirely sure how to explain it, but with the little hiccup my game had just had, with the battle scene, and the fact that I'm almost positive that small bit of dialogue wasn't scripted. I just felt uneasy. Nonetheless, I got out of the cave and selected Daldoros to fly to Petalburg City. When I got there, I could definitely tell something was off. The whole area looked foggy, and all the colors looked as if they had been washed out, leaving the normally cheery little town looking rather dismal. Even the music was different. Just slightly, though. The tempo had been noticeably slowed, further adding to the incredible dreary effect. I explored the area a little, going in a few buildings surrounding the Pokemon Center, just to see what else had changed. For one thing, no one was around. The area was completely devoid of all NPCs. But it didn't take me long to figure out where they all were. I walked up to Wally's parents' house to find 7 NPC sprites, lining the path to the door, 2 columns of 3, with one standing to one side of the door. All of them wore black, and my uneasy feeling only grew. Curious, I spoke to each of them. None of them seemed happy. This shouldn't have happened. I thought he was doing so well. We thought he'd beaten it. He looked up to you. Why can't you give him a break? He'd still be with us if not for you. He didn't think he was good enough to move further. It's your fault. I knew what was going on now, but I didn't want to believe it. But as I walked into his house, I was forced to. A couple more NPCs dotted the small room, and a small black coffin rested in the middle of the area. Wally was dead. I spoke to the other NPCs. Most only repeated, "It's all your fault." But one, which I believed was his mother, explained things a little better for me. The damn cave air aggravated his condition. He strained himself to become better so he could finally be as good as you. But he pushed himself too hard. His body gave out. A hiker found him. A Pokeball clutched in his little hand, his Pokemon refusing to leave his side. He called us using Wally's nav. Do you know what it's like? To be informed by a total stranger that someone you love is dead? Pay your respects and leave. It's all your fault. By now, I was feeling absolutely terrible. Wouldn't you? So I did as I was told and walked up to the small casket. As soon as I touched it, the music stopped, and a blank dialogue box popped up. It stayed there for a few seconds, before a single word was slowly typed out in it. Why? A battle started. A real one this time, rather than the teaser I experienced earlier. My heart sank as Wally's sprite slid onto the opposing trainer's spot. His skin was pale, his colors were washed out, and he looked quite sad. But what hurt me the most was the opening battle announcement. Pokemon Trainer Wally wants one last battle. He summoned his first Pokemon, his cherished Gardevoir, who also looked upset. I assumed this would be the trend with his Pokemon. I sent an Inferno. Sympathy urged me to throw this battle, to make his last one a good one for him. But the competitor in me said to give it all I had. Guess which one I listened to? Inferno plowed through each and every one of his saddened Pokemon, knocking them out flat with one attack each. As the battle ended, Wally slipped back onto frame, his sprite now even more transparent, and said, Why can't you let me win? When the battle screen faded, Wally's mother approached my character and pushed him back and away from the coffin. Get out. You're done here. You disgust me. As she shoved me out the door, instead of appearing outside the house, the screen cut to white and began rolling credits as the names of those involved with the production of the game faded in and out. The white was replaced by an ending scene. Poor Wally's funeral procession. NPC sprites slowly paraded through Petalburg. The tiny casket at the center of the crowd. My eyes watered as they slowly left through the right exit of the city. The camera followed as they stopped at the small patch of grass where Wally had caught his deer Ralts. When they stopped, they all turned to face the screen. Just for a second. But I could almost feel the judgment. As it turned around back to the casket, the screen faded to white, and Wally's trainer spray faded in. Beneath it were 3 little words. In loving memory. And that, my little pups, was Wally. My final thoughts on the story? Well, it's more sad than scary, honestly. It's not really creepy, but it's more of a feels pasta. Now, I mean, it could be a creepypasta, but in my opinion, it could be a feels pasta. Now, the spelling kind of wasn't the best. Just a few little itty bitty spelling errors and small tiny grammatical errors that I can probably get past. But all in all, the story was absolutely great. Saddening to say the least, but there was no gore, no cliches. There was nothing negative I can say about the story. Anything negative would just be nitpicks. But I absolutely love this story. It doesn't give off any creepy vibes or anything, nor does it have any cliches like death, blood, gore, killings, etc. But it is a good creepypasta overall, or a good PokePasta, or a good feels PokePasta. But if this was meant to be a feels pasta, it's a perfect 10 out of 10. But if it's meant to be a actual creepypasta, definitely a 9.5 out of 10. I give it high ratings because it is just that good. But if you have a different opinion on the story, please comment down below. And I will see you later, my swoopy little pups. Plus, I hope you like this creepypasta, because I will link it down below. But I will see you later, pups. This is our peer reminder to stay awesome, stay strong, stay beautiful, and sweet dreams, pups.